Hello there. Thank you so much for joining us. This is News Channel Nebraska. My name's Eric McKay. Let's take a look at our top headlines today. Amidst red flag warnings, firefighters from multiple agencies battled a grass fire fueled by months of drought, low humidity, and wind gusts up to 46 miles per hour. The fire started near Highway 136 east of the town of Johnson. Firefighters sent to the scene just before 2 p.m. yesterday. The fire was driven 3 miles to the border of the Clifton Cemetery. That's about 3 miles from the village of Brock. Smoke was impacting downwind communities. Residents of Brock were evacuated and given opportunity to shelter at the Auburn Wellness Center. Firefighters from Johnson, Auburn, Talmadge, and Tecumseh all were aided by multiple private tractors and discs and commercial tankers from Frontier Cooperative. The path of the fire was narrow as it moved north in the area of Coryell Park, but it was still over 3 miles long within 2 hours. In other news, a new initiative based out of UNK is the latest major push to try to address Nebraska's early childhood education woes. A report last year from Voices for Children in Nebraska said 84 of Nebraska's counties don't have enough spots in licensed child care facilities to meet the potential demand. The Knowledge Network for Early Childhood Education Workforce hopes to change that. The program will focus on early childhood educator recruitment and retention, as well as networking and professional development.
So we're going to bring resources to those people. We're going to train people. We're going to expand the opportunities for people to have childcare, especially in rural Nebraska.
More than a dozen rural communities will be invited to participate in the multi-year project. An event Tuesday celebrated UNK receiving $2 million in federal money to fund the program. Organizers honored U.S. Senator Deb Fischer, who sponsored the federal appropriation. Nebraska Extension and Communities for Kids are also partners in the initiative. Well, if a Southeast Nebraska public school district looks for grant support for emergency response mapping of buildings, experts say that could work with systems that local emergency responders now use. Beatrice's school board met in a committee with Gage County Sheriff Millard Gustafson, Beatrice's police director Jay Murphy, and former Beatrice Police Chief Bruce Lang, who now does safety consulting for schools. Some board members said they're concerned about online hacking of mapping information, but Lang says that likely won't be a problem.
The people that are going to be causing us the most grief, first one is going to be parents. It's going to be an unhappy parent that comes into the school and wants to punch out the science teacher because he didn't like the grade his kid got. Now that doesn't make the 6 o'clock news, but that's the one that the principals will tell you, those kind of the people that they do see. And then the other one at the high school level mainly, but sometimes in middle school, the suspended student leaves and then wants to come back in and regrieve what's happened. And then the third thing, of course, is the actual intruder that makes the news and we hear so much about. None of those folks are going to be taking time to go online, find a floor plan, and magically come up with some kind of way to attack the school. That simply is kind of out there. It's not a realistic concern.
A new law in Nebraska is aimed at helping school districts map buildings. It requires districts to establish some type of policy before tapping grant support. Experts say the mapping system would most likely be useful in natural disasters. Vendors that provide the mapping are under consideration. Businesses, meanwhile, in a southeast Nebraska town can now apply for a grant to help offset some of the costs of building maintenance and repairs. It's thanks to an expansion of an existing grant program. Tim Hackett has more.
The Downtown Design Challenge Grant has previously helped a handful of businesses in downtown Fairbury fortify their foundations and facades. And now, the city has widened the reach of that grant in the hopes that businesses outside of just the downtown square will take advantage. The DDCG is now the BDCG, the Business Design Challenge Grants, and it offers 50% match funding up to $33,000 for maintenance and repair for any existing eligible business in the Fairbury city limits. The city calls it a brick and mortar grant, meaning it can be applied towards anything that helps with the building itself.
The LB 840 committee and council and your community leaders have really broadened this program to really support the businesses as much as they can locally.
Many businesses in the heart of Fairbury have taken advantage of this grant or plan to, and now the city hopes that other businesses on the city's fringe will follow suit. Most specifically, Bedlin says that means buildings along the corridors and entryways to Fairbury itself, further north on East Street heading into downtown, along Highway 136 running east to west, and along Highway 15 K Street running north to south.
Just to make the entrances to town look better, you know, not that they don't look good now, but every business could use some help keeping their building, you know, it's tough to keep buildings up, and every business could use a little help doing that.
And this grant is supposed to help make that challenge a little easier. In Fairbury, Tim Hackett, News Channel, Nebraska.
From abortion to paid sick leave and medical marijuana, Nebraska voters will decide several key issues when they head to the polls next week. Our team of reporters at News Channel Nebraska is breaking down each of the ballot measures, simplifying the language to help you make an informed vote. Ana Ruth Lugo Mejia now has more on Initiative 436.
Next week, Nebraskans will get to decide whether or not paid sick time is a mandate. Nebraskans will be able to vote for or against Initiative Measure 436. If passed by the majority, it would ensure that Nebraskans can earn paid sick time for personal or family health needs. But how will it impact Nebraska? Dr. Eric Thompson is the director of the Bureau of Business Research at UNL. He says that mandated worker benefits are a mixed bag for workers and business.
Obviously, we have an interest in creating some minimum level of conditions for people at work. The struggle, the challenge is always figuring out what should be included in that minimum set of conditions and what shouldn't be in it.
Thompson says it can be beneficial for workers but challenging for companies to hire or have full-time workers.
It kind of depends on your individual situation. Similar for companies, obviously if it's a company that doesn't feel like they can or should offer paid sick leave right now, being mandated to do so could create challenges for their business in terms of its success and growth. On the other hand, I guess for businesses that feel like they should provide paid sick leave, the mandate would then require that their competitors do so also. So in that sense, there could be some businesses that benefit from the policy as well.
If passed, employees would earn 1 hour of paid sick leave for every 30 hours worked. For employers with fewer than 20 employees, workers may earn up to 5 days of paid sick leave per year. For 20 or more employees, workers may earn up to 7 days of paid sick leave per year. In the U.S., federal law doesn't guarantee paid sick leave. Right now, 15 states and Washington, D.C. have paid sick time laws. Many cities and counties have also passed their own laws. Alaska and Missouri have similar initiatives on their ballots this year. Thompson says all mandates together might affect the growth of the state economy and urges people to be mindful.
To think about what are the key working conditions you feel that all jobs must have. And, obviously we need to make a decision as citizens of the state about that. And is this particular benefit important enough to be on that list?
In Grand Island, Ana Ruth Lugo Mejia, News Channel, Nebraska.
Looks like it's so long self-checkout at HyVee, the grocer confirming they're getting rid of or changing their self-checkout lines. The company says some of its stores have already eliminated self-checkout lines. Others will be converted to express lanes for 12 items or less. A company spokesperson said HyVee trying to provide a better customer experience, so they're bringing back the traditional checkout lines that the supermarket offered before the pandemic. The Valley Irrigation Valley Center Pivot has been named the coolest thing made in Nebraska. The champion was announced Tuesday at the Nebraska Chamber's Manufacturing Summit in La Vista. The Valley Center Pivot, made in Valley and McCook, is used now in more than 90 countries. Throughout the month of October, Nebraskans voted in a head-to-head bracket-style matchup of 16 finalists to determine this year's winner. This is the competition's third year, and Nebraska Manufacturing Alliance said it garnered tens of thousands of votes. And the town of Gordon is in mourning after a tragic crash in Grand Island claimed the lives of 4 men, all of whom had deep roots in that Sandhills community. Casey Wannenberg brings us to a heartfelt funeral procession honoring 2 of those victims.
This isn't your typical run, and these runners are missing a couple of their usual running partners.
Disbelief. I didn't want it to be true.
Randy American Horse and Ricky Graygrass,
Of course, there's tears that came out.
organized this run, a memorial they never imagined they'd have to host.
Praying for the families. You know, it was a tragic loss.
Earlier this month, Randy and Ricky's adopted son, along with 3 close friends and family members, died in a crash in Grand Island. All 4 men were originally from Gordon.
I was with my family. I have 13 people living with me, and that was the hardest news to break to them. You know, letting them know about what happened to their, their friend, their brother, their cousin, their nephew.
2 of those young men, 22-year-old Juan Ramos, a new father, and 18-year-old Alex Ramos American Horse, a recent high school graduate, often took part in similar spiritual runs.
And just keeping their spirits alive. That they're not forgotten. They're always going to be with us.
And loved ones wanted to run with them one more time as their bodies traveled from the funeral home in Pine Ridge to Gordon City Hall, where the memorial ceremony was held.
This is closure for a lot of people that ran with us, that knew Juan and Alex.
It's not over. Even though they're passed on, they're always going to be with us.
A final run to honor 2 young men who touched so many lives.
Support, love, encouragement. We'll get through it.
In Gordon, Casey Wannenberg, News Channel, Nebraska.
And you can stay up to date with the very latest by following us online. Head to newschannelnebraska.com and click on the News tab there. You can also follow us on X, like us on Facebook and Instagram as well. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. You're watching News Channel Nebraska.